Welcome back to Grid Gym. We come at you every weekday at 12:30. You guys can ask questions on here. You can comment. You can make suggestions. You can tell me how terrible I am if you really want to, but I don't think you want to do that. It's your go. It's your go. But anyway, 12:30 every weekday. Today's Friday. This week has been a total mess. We got away from our typical the topics we usually jump in on, which are health, exercise, mindset, nutrition, and recovery. I know that I touched on recovery as the last one of these, and I only just a tiny glimpse of it. And the thing about recovery is that it's where everything ends up happening. It's where all the magic happens. Everybody thinks that you build muscle in the gym, but you don't. You build muscle afterwards. You give the body a stimulus, and then afterwards is when all the good stuff happens. That's when you put on mass, okay? Or when you give the body the opportunity to burn. You don't burn fat during your workout. You burn it throughout the day. You gave your body a stimulus, and now you burn it throughout the day. You don't burn away and get your six-pack while you're at the gym. You don't get the effect that you want. The stimulus is just created there. The stimulus is created, and then everything happens afterwards when your body can work on itself and repair itself during the recovery. That's the big thing that we're going to talk about today. How do you drive this recovery? How do we drive this so that we can get all of these crazy benefits? Because if everything is happening in the recovery medium, then we've got to get our ass there, right? So we've got to get our sleep, our rest, we got to relax, we got to do some kind of breathing activity where we can get clear and get some focus with our mind so that we're not imposing additional stress on our body. And we just need to drive recovery, right? So that's what we're going to get into today. This is the final day to get signed up for the 50 workout challenge. If you know somebody, you do know somebody, grab them, get their butt in here. It's 30% off for this time frame, okay? So it's from today. The sign up ends today, and then all the people that are signed up for it up until October 21st, you have that time frame to get in 50 workouts. So at this point, I think, I don't know what the exact math is, but if you get 4 workouts in per week, you will make that time frame, okay? You will make 50 workouts in that time. And I know that you can do this. You can do 50 workouts per week. The reason we're doing this is trying to incentivize people to actually show up and get their workouts in, because everybody when it gets hot in the summertime, everybody kind of starts to, I don't know. You come up with reasons to not show up, and you know you do. Now let's ramp that up. Let's go make this happen, okay? Another thing is we have these Lift Like a Girl shirts. These shirts came out, and they're super awesome. I'm really impressed with the people who made these up, especially Amber, who designed them. But come out and grab one, because they're sweet. Lift Like a Girl is one of the big things that we want to get across, because men already kind of know the additional benefits that lifting give them. You know, it gives them a little extra muscle mass, gives them a ton of strength. It lets them live their life the way that they want to experience it. Women get tons and tons of benefit from strength and conditioning too, and they're so scared of it because they don't want to get bulky. They don't want to look like they're a lifter. They don't want to look like a guy. But the thing is that lifting hard, like, your female bodies aren't really set up to respond to lifting that way. It's going to enhance everything that you want. Everything that you want. The long, thin legs, the more toned arms, the better abs, the ability to accept calories better is all going to be improved. The muscle mass gain is actually what you want if you want that toned look. A slight bit of dense muscle tissue below the skin is what gives the body that toned look. Also, when you lift, your human growth hormone goes up. That sounds scary, right? However, when your human growth hormone goes up even just a little bit, it pulls the skin tighter to the muscle, making you appear younger. And making it appear like you have more tone. Okay. Also, your IGF-1 hormone goes up. This is a huge fat burner. We want this to go up. Okay. So all of these, like, I could just go on and on and on, and you're gonna find when the Cost of Courage book drops, there's gonna be a whole chapter about females and lifting. But also, it is just a very empowering thing, and you are able to empower yourself through this. Remember, you don't get courage because of thinking of something. You do the thing that you are afraid of, and you get the courage in return. This is the big thing that you want to put through your head. You get the courage because you did something that you were scared of. You don't get it beforehand. Okay, so come out, grab a Lift Like a Girl shirt and support this movement. We really want to create this movement and make it a thing so that a lot of females are able to get into the weight room in a safe place where they don't have to be around a machismo bullshit dudes that are just there to pick their back knee and stare at themselves while they do bicep curls. But what are we talking about today? We're talking about rest, relaxation, sleep, breathing, and recovery. All of those things are there to drive recovery, but I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there around what these actually are. So rest, let's just take rest as the first one. Rest, what is rest? And we're like, well, rest could be sleep, well, rest could be relaxation, rest could be, sure, these are all like kind of a big Venn diagram. Think only if you can categorize them, I think that'll make it a little bit more clear. So rest, think of it after a workout, between exercises, and it's many times used as a recovery method after an injury or after a really hard, like after a football game or something like that, where it takes a lot of recovery. Now, how much time do you need to rest between exercises? Because this is a drastic misconception that some places think that they're doing strength training because they're going from one exercise to the other exercise as fast as they possibly can. They're doing lunges, they're doing planks, they're doing curls with a band, and they're like, no, that creates tone. That's strength training. That's not strength training. That's cardio. Okay, that's not strength training. That's cardio. If you're walking up to the bar and you're significantly out of breath, I mean, slightly out of breath, maybe you're just pushing yourself really hard. But for the most part, you don't want to be, if you're walking up to the bar and you're out of breath, then it's too late. You are not doing a strength training program. You are a strength training workout. You are training your cardiovascular systems. You're working your alactic, glycolytic, or your endurance system on some level. And you want to get in the strength game, okay? I'm not saying those others are bad. We want those too. We want that cardio, but we want to be very clear. Are we doing strength or are we doing cardio right now? This has to be very, very clear. Okay, so about 60 seconds to 5 minutes for most of the people that are going to be watching this show. If you were like an Usain Bolt or a really high-level athlete, maybe you're taking 20 minutes in between each bout of exercise. So Usain Bolt, if he's running a 20-meter dash and he's just trying to work on acceleration and get out of the blocks, he might take 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes between each one of his sets or of his repetitions, because the amount of energy that he can apply in that short amount of time is drastically large. So he's trying to put as much energy as he can in that tiny little space. You're not doing that. You're training for a different effect. You're training for health. You're training to get stronger, but your body hasn't gotten to that point where it can produce that level of energy in that short amount of time. So it would negate the purpose. This is why, part of the reason why you can't take a 12-year-old and apply a strength training program that was designed for like the University of Iowa football team. You can't put that on a 12-year-old. Their bodies are not there yet. It would destroy. It would not allow them to progress the way that they need to progress. You say if you took the the program that was appropriate to that 12-year-old and you gave it to the University of Iowa football team, they would just kind of stop progressing very much, even if they're using their progress would be really slow. But if you gave that to the little kid, you'd destroy him. It'd be no good. Same thing with most of the people watching this. About 60 seconds to 5 minutes between your sets is going to solve almost everybody's problem, unless you're at that top 1%. Now, between workouts, this seems to be how much rest do you need between workouts? Because this seems to be a very, very misunderstood topic as well. You don't need much time. This idea that you can't lift every day of the week is absurd. Yes, you have to program intelligent, but that doesn't mean that you can't lift every day of the week. Doesn't mean that you can't work out every day of the week. Doesn't mean that it's bad for your body to do so. You want to work out every day of the week. To not work out every day of the week would just be to relinquish the idea that this is good for you. You want to work out every day of the week. It's very important. Work out every day of the week. But we have to do so like we've got to think to be able to do this. Okay, we can't just sit there and hammer and hammer and hammer and hammer away at this thing and expect to go well. You know, like I think I said this yesterday. If you had a $1 million racehorse, would you train it to exhaustion constantly? Would you yell at it and say mean things to it all day? Would you make it stay up late, and would you make it wake up early and try to keep it under stress all day long? You wouldn't, right? Because this is your $1 million racehorse. So why do you do that to you? You do want to work out every day. You could do so the simple split that I've used for years, and most lifters will end up using this, is Monday is a lower body lift, Tuesday is an upper body lift, Wednesday is more speed, agility type focus for me, Thursday is an upper body lift or a lower body lift, Friday is an upper body lift, and then Saturday is more of a speed, agility type day, and then Saturday is like steady state, longer state cardio, or what we're going to get into a little bit here with active recovery when we talk about the active recovery at the end of this talk. So you should work out every single day, but you probably do want about a 24-hour window because you do have other stressors in your life. Like you probably have a job, you might have kids, you might have a business, you might have all these different things, and you're going to accumulate stress. The thing about stress is that our body doesn't differentiate. It can be a fight with your wife, it can be a hard day at work, it can be a bunch of plyometrics, it can be a cut on your arm. Your body does not differentiate between stress. Okay? And everything that's good happens in this recovery medium, and if we're all stressed out, then we're not recovering. So we want to decrease or deal with the amount of stress. Like some of that stress is good, right? Like we want some of that stress. Some of it's not so good. We want to manage the amount of stress that we're imposing on our body and our mind and everything else. So you have to do this appropriate to you, And regardless, as we get into more of the breathing type stuff, we're going to talk about some of the mindset things around recovery that can help you out a great deal. But between workouts, you should work out every single day. It's ridiculous to think that your body needs more than a day to be able to exercise. And if you're working out twice a day, you just got to be smart about it and do the right exercises. That's why you come to someone like me. Post-injury, it is ridiculous that you would not go and exercise while you are injured. It is completely ridiculous to think that you should not exercise while you are injured. I know that sounds absurd, but if you have, I don't care if you have a broken femur on your right side, you should be doing squats on your left the day after you broke that femur. Literally the day after, you should be doing single leg squats on your left leg and with that cast on your right leg. You should be working out your arms. You should be working on your core. Anybody who says different than that lacks creativity and lacks a solution-based mindset. Every single person in the world has no excuse to not exercise. I don't care about the injury. I don't care if you're pregnant. I mean, I care. That's a bummer. Well, maybe it's a bummer that you're pregnant, but it's a bummer that you're it's a bummer that you're injured. Kind of caught myself there. It's a bummer that you're injured, but at the same time, it's not serving you to say, "Woo is me. Oh, poor me. I can't go exercise now." That doesn't do anything to serve the healing process. You should be working out that next day. Keep in mind, when surgeons do open heart surgery, they open up the entire chest cavity, replace the heart, reconnect it. They get those people up and walking within a few hours of that happening. They get them up and walking. When we didn't used to do this, if you look up the statistics on when they didn't used to do this, it was about a 50-50 chance that they were going to last a year after that heart surgery, that they were going to stay alive a year after that heart surgery. When doctors started getting people up and walking the day of having that heart surgery, a few hours after having that heart surgery, those numbers skyrocketed from 50%. I don't remember where they ended up, but they jumped up considerably. It was not a negotiable thing anymore. You have to get up. You have to make it happen. Okay? And hopefully you come into Grit Gym before you get to that point that you need the heart transplant. Anyway, what about relaxation? Okay, relaxation actually sounds like this nice term. Everybody wants to relax. Everybody has a desire to relax. But normal status quo says don't relax. What's normal to you? Okay? Is this normal to you? Is this your daily norm that you don't even know that you don't know that you're doing it? It's just kind of happening. You just kind of have this tension that you don't even know about. There's a certain amount of this that has to happen, obviously. Otherwise, you just crumble to the floor because we're always fighting gravity and we're always fighting pressure from the air and the atmosphere. However, how much are you really holding? How much tension are you really holding that you could get rid of that you don't even know is occurring? Okay? I would bet that most people have enough to have a hard time relaxing to the point that if they did get to a relaxed state, they would want to betray it. They'd want to run. They'd want to shake it out. They'd be like, oh, I didn't like that, because it felt uncomfortable to them because it was so new. If you think of what normal is, well, it's like 2.5 kids. Most people, like, normal means that you hate your job, that you is usually normal is you're on your second spouse and you're not really into that relationship either. If you think about what normal is common, and everybody's kind of indulging in this. Have you ever heard the saying that the devil you know is better than the devil you don't? But the devil you know is what's holding you in this tense state, and we end up sticking it out with them. You want to betray that devil that you know so that you can have the life that you want to live. Okay? That's what's stopping you from breaking out of this, your own social norm or your own daily norm, whatever you want to call it, and breaking out into something different. And it's just delivering yourself from your comfort zone. It's super difficult. However, if we get into relaxing, what does society do? Society says you're boring, you're lazy, you're pathetic, you should do more, right? So society tries to tell you, hey, who are you to relax? Who do you think that you are? I don't get to relax. Why do you get to relax? That's the hater talking. They're inviting you into their kind of bullshit, into their comfort zone. Hey, be like me, sort of thing. You don't want to jump into that. So you want to relax. It's not boring. It's not lazy. It doesn't mean that you're doing nothing. It would be very hard to do nothing. If you were doing nothing, you wouldn't be converting oxygen into carbon dioxide right now. You're always doing something. There's nothing wrong with relaxing, and it might be selfish to take some time and relax. Oh, that's really mean of you that you took the time to actually relax. That's a good kind of selfish. You want that selfish. You want to be selfish in that regard. There's nothing wrong with being selfish there. That's a good kind of selfish. So you want to find a way to relax. You want to find whatever it is. One thing that I do is I meditate for 15 minutes every day. I get in my breathing pattern down, in through my nose, out through my nose, pushing my air down into my pelvis, so I'm dropping my diaphragm, and I do that for 15 minutes. Now, after I get my breathing kind of honed in, then I start on my forehead, start on my face, start on my shoulders, chest, arms, legs, down to my toes, and I just relax for 15 minutes once per day. Now, we'll get into sleep and we'll get into recovery methods, active recovery methods here in a second, but this type of relaxation method is actually scientifically proven to change the landscape of your brain, the anatomical, physical properties of your brain. So the fight or flight section of your brain will actually shrink, the area where we get more tense and we get those stress hormones rolling like adrenaline and cortisol, that are bound to put more fat around your midsection, and just bathe our bodies in this chemical that doesn't allow us to recover and have all that magic happen that we talked about at the beginning. It ends up so what ends up happening is we don't recover, right? So when we meditate, our brain changes, we get better at it. So the better we get at it, the better we get at it. So the better we get at meditating, the better we get at relaxing, the more likely we are to span that throughout our day. Okay, so we have one way to do that is through meditation, is through breathing. The other one is visualization. So visualization is just you're just imagining yourself as being the way that you want to become. Did that sound complicated? So if you want to have a six-pack, You imagine yourself having a six-pack, what it's like to have a six-pack with your eyes closed during your meditative state, to the point that when you come out of that state, you'll pull your shirt up, look down, and be like, oh my God, I can't believe that I do not have a six-pack right now. If that is the way that you think, are you more likely to push towards having that six-pack, or are you more likely to push away from having that six-pack? If you are so uncomfortable with the way that you are right now, that you'll do anything to get to where you are comfortable, then you'll do that thing. So if you're visualizing, you're creating the comfort, you're changing your own comfort zone, and believing that, and changing your belief structure so that you can actually get to the place that you want to become. Does that make sense? I never explained that quite just the way that I want to, but one of these days I'm going to find a way. But breathing, there's also something weird happens between our brain-body connection, between our diaphragm and our brain and the rest of our body. So when our diaphragm drops, all these things, crazy things happen with our body. So you want to be in the meditation game, or the visualization game, whatever you want to call it. And the interesting thing is, some people that I've talked with about this almost think, attack it as almost like an idolatry, religious sort of thing. It doesn't have to be a religion. Meditation isn't a religion. It's just a practice of doing something. You can think of this as prayer. You can think of it as whatever you want, but it's not idolatry. You're not acting in sin by meditating. You're doing a huge service to yourself, and when you do that service for yourself, you improve everything around you in your atmosphere, because you're a better service to all those that you care about, and you're better at all the things that make you great. It's a great thing to do for yourself, and it's 15 minutes. Everybody can carve out 15 minutes. I don't care how busy you are. So what about the active recovery methods and sleep? Okay, these are two very different subjects, right? And we want to get into that parasympathetic state. So if we're looking at active recovery methods first, and then I'll get into sleep. Okay, so active recovery methods, we've got tempo runs, foam rolling, massage, warm-up repeats, steady state cardio. Oh my God, I almost said Warburg. That's really interesting. At Grit Gym, we actually have something called a tune-up class. It doesn't matter how you do it. What we want is to have a lower heart rate intensive exercise that we can do at a duration that's about 30 to 45 minutes long. And what happens is our heart's pumping at that low level, and we end up improving our autonomic nervous system, which allows us to sleep better. Weird, huh? And we thicken the wall of our heart where that has to press up against. This is a good thing. We actually want the wall of that heart to strengthen in that area. So, but what about foam rolling and massage? Those don't seem like they should go in there. I have a hard time putting massage anywhere but the active category, because some massage therapists are really going to dig in there, and I think it's an active way to go about it. It's a proactive way to try to gain recovery and try to improve the recovery between your workouts and just life in general. So I really like. I can hear myself, so this is interesting. I can hear the playback so I keep hearing myself, so this is interesting, so it's messing me up. So I apologize, guys, if I'm being a little funny. But so massage is not scientifically proven. We don't know why it works. I'm very curious about massage and what we find out about it. I think what's really happening is when we put pressure, like what we know is that when we put pressure on the muscle, all these cool things happen. That's about all we know. That's about the extent of it. But I think what's really happening to improve the recovery rates is that when we move fluid, we can, anytime we move fluid, so lymph or blood, you improve recovery. So, and when that happens, you sleep better, you feel better, you recover better, you have better workouts. All these things kind of circumvent each other. So massage and foam rolling, kind of in the same category, not scientifically proven, but we know that they work. I'm very interested, one of the things that with the difference between massage and foam rolling, I think that there might be something to physical touch, the physical touch from somebody else, this gentle, safe gesture of, and the mammalian species, if you look at all of us, not just primates, but you look at cats and dogs and wolves and all the mammals, they all have these gestures, they all, like, they touch each other, not in a creepy way, but touch each other in some way to show affection, to show a nurturing, to show a love, to show a gentle, whatever it is. And I'm kind of curious if massage has something to do in there. I don't know. I think that could be part of the whole relaxation process, just a gentle touch. And we know that touch can have a profound effect on how our muscles actually perform in the weight room and how they perform in social settings. When somebody touches our back in a certain way, and like a slap, it elicits a different response than when they are nice and gentle about it. It's just, I don't know. I'm very curious about that. But what are warm-up repeats? Warm-up repeats are when you would take your warm-up and you would do it 2 to 3 times. It's pretty simple. So you do your foam roll, and you do your warm-up, and you start all over again. Do your warm-up, start all over again, do your warm-up. That would be a warm-up repeat. And it's surprising, by the end of that, you're like, oh man, I feel really good, but I'm kind of feeling jelly. I kind of feel like I got a workout in, but I didn't really get a workout in. That's pushing that active recovery. We want that going through. And then there's also steady state cardio, where we're just maybe riding a bike. My favorite way is like a dual action bike, where you move your arms and your legs, or pushing a sled for 35 minutes. But what about sleep? Sleep is the big one. Sleep is the big one that a lot of people have a lot of trouble with. There's a few things that because at different times in my life, I've had trouble sleeping, and a lot of the clients that I've had over the years have had a lot of trouble sleeping. So a few things that I think that you can do is realize that it doesn't have to be complicated. 7 to 10 hours, and I think that you're doing great. 7 to 10 hours, and I think you're doing great. And one of the things that has been shown in research is that that time to bed is more important than time to wake. Also, that the more time you have before midnight seems to have an effect. So that's why we say 1 hour of sleep before midnight is worth 2 hours of sleep after midnight. Consistency seems to be a big deal. Consistency, going to bed at the same time every night. Now, if you're going to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning one night, 9 o'clock at night the next night, and then 10 o'clock, and then you're bouncing around, your body doesn't know what's going on. Your body just is like, okay, well, I got to be ready for anything. And then it never knows what you want it to do. If you want it to go turn off at 11 p.m. so you can go to bed so you can sleep until 6 so you get 7 hours, well, then what do you got to do? You got to go to bed at 11 o'clock every single night. You can't be bouncing around. Static stretching seems to have a good effect on, for some weird reason, we do static stretching where you hold a stretch for 50 seconds per stretch, seems to have an effect on sleep quality. So when you static stretch before about 10 minutes before bed, then you sleep better. Don't ask me, but apparently it works. Research has shown it time and time again. Meditation kind of goes back into this. If you have a relaxed mind, if you can manage your stress levels in your brain, then you're more likely to be able to sleep better. Drugs. I'm not a fan of sleep aids. I don't think that they work. Most sleep drugs were not actually made to be for sleep. They were drugs that were made for other things that just happened to cause drowsiness, and so they slugged them into you. So what happens when you take a downer? You tend to stay down. Even though, like melatonin, for instance, even though melatonin's been proven not to have effects later on or the next day, and I still think like something that pulls you down keeps you down. It's harder to get yourself back up. So I am not a big fan of these. Also, it doesn't allow you to confront the beast that is actually happening. If your mind is saying, I'm awake, I'm awake, I'm awake, it's awake for a reason, and then you give it drugs to try to knock it out, it's sitting there fighting the drugs the entire time. So what's actually going on? You have a conflict when really you needed to confront whatever is keeping you awake. Whatever reason there is for being awake, you got to confront that thing. And I think you do that through meditation. Supplements can be of help. So you have like zinc and magnesium are your big ones. These are very soothing minerals. They don't actually put you to sleep. They just kind of soothe you out. So supplements can work, but the big one I think is just start a journal. Start writing. Every night, write a little something down. That's why we have, I don't even know if I have it right around me here. That's why we have the One Life Planner. So you write your goals before and after. I think it's easier to go to bed when you know your purpose. when you've renegotiated your purpose, when you've looked at your day and you've seen some successes, it's like, okay, well now I feel like I can go to sleep. When you look at your day and you're like, okay, what could I have improved upon? Now I think your mind and your body can kind of be like, okay, well, I'm going to do better. I'm going to go get this sleep so I can do better at those tomorrow. Also, you want to outsource your memory. If you are sitting there going to sleep and all the world's solutions to all problems all of a sudden pop into your head, and all your creativity and everything goes nuts, you know that you're going to forget it in the morning. I do all the time. I'm like, oh, God, I'll remember that because that's such a good idea. And I go to sleep and you never remember it. So it leads to bad sleep because you're trying to hold on to that memory. Take action on that thing. Write it down on a piece of paper. You need to have some kind of journal beside your bed so that even in the dark you can just sit there. So that next morning you can open that up and be like, I remember that now. That way you can outsource your memory, put it there. It's like a safe. I know that it's safe right there. I'm gonna put it back on the ground. I'm gonna be able to fall asleep because I outsourced it to that piece of paper. So journaling can be a good thing, but the big daddy, I think, about the sleep thing, never, ever, not once, not ever, do not hit your snooze button. That 15 minutes of extra garbage sleep was not worth it. All it did was ruin the rest of your day. All it does is keep you more tired. I realize how much it seems like you want that sleep right there at the end. Don't do it. You also want to remove yourself from the room. So one of the things that I do is I put my alarm clock in a different room so that I have to remove myself from the place that I do sleep. You don't want to stay in the same place that you're sleeping when you're trying to wake up. Get your ass out of there. All right? Remove yourself from the place that you sleep. Put your alarm clock in another room or out in the hallway, whatever it is. Something that can help your mind go down. Fiction. Fiction actually, when we take brain scans, the portion of your brain that lights up when we dream is the same portion of the brain that lights up when we read fiction. And I think, and the theory is that we are creating the dream in our head. But when we read fiction, we're also creating the images. We're creating the story, the visuals of the story, but we're creating it in our mind, so it ends up eliciting the same kind of response in our brain, of which then allows us to go to sleep easier because it's more like how we sleep. Then you also want to get rid of any screens. I don't care if your cell phone is your alarm, it should be out in the hallway anyway. No iPads, no computers, no TVs. You don't want that garbage going into your head while you sleep. Grab a sound soother instead of your TV. Grab a sound soother, play ocean waves or fireside or something like the crackling of a fire or rain, whatever it is, but do not have screens in the space that you sleep. So that's some of the ways that we can really force recovery. We can get appropriate rest. We can work on and get better at relaxation. We can get good quality sleep. We can focus on breathing techniques so that we get better at those, and we can actively go and create more recovery in our day-to-day life. So I am way past time, so I'm going to finish this right now, but thanks for being here, guys. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, please write them down below, and this is on the website, Lift Like a Girl, make sure you grab yours. Thanks, guys.